Welcome to the Real Ref Report, a fun approach to improving officiating.
You suck, ref!
Keeping it real with real perspectives, educating the wrestling community, and building better relationships between officials, coaches, and wrestlers. Together, let's make reffing great again. Now, here's your host, Andy Eichley.
What's up, everybody? This is Andy Eichley. As it said, I am excited to be back on here. My guest today is awesome. You guys are going to love it. So just real quick, who I am, I'm an official, a husband, a father of two boys. I'm a sixth grade math teacher, so I teach middle school math in Lake Stevens. And this podcast kind of just came about because, I want to help improve officiating and get more people interested in officiating. But really educate the wrestling community, coaches, wrestlers, officials, and fans, and build better relationships between all of us, the officials, the coaches, and the wrestlers, so we can all kind of understand each other. And it's not always easy, but we want to get the call right. Not all officials do, but hopefully we can help change that. So this is not an official bashing podcast. So I am an official, but I've been a wrestler and a coach, so I have experience with all sides. I know there are bad calls that get made. I've made bad calls, and but really, if we talk about them and learn from them, then we can all get better. So I want to bring awareness to what makes calls tough and help us all be for each other and not against each other. So really just want to help officials improve and then improve my own officiating. So with that said, I want to introduce my guest today. So she's born and raised in Washington. She's married with 5 kids. She wanted to wrestle as a kid, but mom and dad said no. So she became the wrestling manager. Then as an adult, she started helping out with kids wrestling, became a middle school and high school coach, and then became an official in February of 2023. She started traveling and learning fast. And only 2 years later, she was reffing at the MAC Classic State Tournament in Washington. This year, she's already doing the Pat Coast and Gut Check, and she was voted SPSL Official of the Year, which is really cool. So please welcome Hollie Brown.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Hollie. Thanks for being on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You got quite the list of accolades already with only a couple of years at it. That's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started officiating, and where you've been, like tournaments you've done, and where you're going.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I became an official about 3 years ago. Just coaching wasn't working out. I was coaching the girls in the high school, and girls wrestling really exploded a few years ago. So all the tournaments were at different locations than where my boys were wrestling. So I was missing a lot of their matches. So I saw a need for officials and thought, what better way to still be in wrestling and be able to pick my schedule? So I started officiating, and shortly after, I met Kim Hernandez and Nadine Johnson, and they have been, amazing mentors for me. And right away, started having me travel. I hate flying. I don't like traveling, but they said I should go do these tournaments. So I started traveling and went to the East Coast, New Mexico, California, and just really my growth was just exponential at that point to see that higher level of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool. So I've been telling people for a while, because I've only been officiating since 2019, which is not a long time. And a lot of these officials have been doing it for so long. And but it's cool how you have started to travel. And one of the things that is cool about you is you ask so many great questions. Like the first time I met you was at Pat Coast this year. And, I had heard about you because, I did the referee rankings, and people were saying, oh, you need to put Hollie Brown on there. And I didn't know who you were, so I couldn't put you on there, but we'll see. Maybe next year, I think we'll see the first female official on the rankings. So, but I met you at Pat Coast, and it's just really cool to see how you ask questions. You want to get better. You're willing to put yourself out there. And a lot of officials, they won't admit when they're wrong, and they won't admit that they made a bad call, and they don't get better. So I just think it's really cool. So when I saw you at Pat Coast, it's just one of the questions that we had, and I'll just let everybody know, like there was some blood time stuff, and so we both kind of got to talk about blood time. And really, I think a lot of people don't know how blood time works and or potentially dangerous and stuff like that. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But really, I think it's so cool how you've started to travel. And Kim Hernandez and Nadine Johnson, they're both already in the Hall of Fame for AAU. So those are some great mentors. So you really, really scored by having those two in your corner.
Yeah, and I want to add too, I found your podcast probably a year ago or something, and I just binged all of your episodes because I feel like also, like you've mentioned, some referees, don't have that open mind and don't want to ask questions. And really, the goal for me in starting to officiate was I want every wrestler on my mat to have a fair match called according to the rule book. And of course, we're human, we'll make mistakes, but I want to get it right. And those matches I do mess up on keep me up at night. But I want to never make that same mistake again and kind of bridge that gap between coaches and wrestlers and officials. And your podcast really hit on that. So I really appreciate what you're doing too, because this is how we get better. And I shouldn't make those same mistakes again, you know?
Yeah, and I can tell just by watching you officiate and that you care. And sometimes you get officials, they seem like they're just angry. They're yelling at the wrestlers every time they say something, and they're just mad. And so you have a great demeanor out there, and you can tell that you really want to get the call correct and that you care. So that's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the first segment so we can talk about some of this stuff. It's called On the Mat.
You're listening to the Real Ref Report. It's time now for On the Mat. On the Mat.
Okay, so I touched on it a second ago, but let's talk about that blood time stuff. So we started talking about it because there was a kid that was bleeding and then a kid was hurt, right? And so you kind of had
Mhm.
blood time and injury time going at the same time, which, there's so many rules and so many things that happen. It's just one of those things that has to happen, and now it won't happen again. But for people out there, a lot of times the coaches are like, "Oh, stop blood time. The blood is stopped." And so I've talked to By the Book Bob about this already, and really, blood time shouldn't be stopped until they're ready to wrestle. They'll stick a plug in there real quick, and then they'll be like, "Oh, stop blood time," but really, they're not ready to wrestle yet. If they're adding Vaseline or if they're taping something up, that's all part of their blood time. But talk a little bit about what you learned with the blood time and versus injury time and how all that works.
Yeah, so I was grateful that you were there on my mat. I think you were waiting to switch me out for the next match. And blood time had started. A wrestler was bleeding. But then the other wrestler came to me, and the coach was like, "Hey, we need injury time. My wrestler's injured." So I went to the table to ask him, like, "Hey, how do I keep blood time running? But now I need to start injury time for this other wrestler. Can you keep it on your phone?" And you were like, "Nope, blood time supersedes everything. We don't, they just get their injury time." And I, of course, I'm always like, "Okay, cool. Let's talk about that later though." But I'm going to believe you and we're going with that. And so I did not at all realize that that was a thing.
Yeah. So also, I just want to say thanks for trusting me in that moment, because a lot of times I've tried to help officials and they're just like, no, they don't trust me or they don't believe me and they just do what they want. I've had it with the head and neck stuff too. But yeah, so if for everybody out there, blood time supersedes everything. So if the kid's bleeding, that's his blood time is going. And then if the other kid has a bone sticking out of his leg, I mean, he might be bleeding. Let's say just he's injured real bad. That injury time does not even start until the blood time is over. So if the other kid bleeds for 5 minutes and loses the match, then even though that kid's injured and can't continue, he would win because injury time doesn't start. So even like a weird situation, like if recovery time. So let's say a kid cross faces a kid and nose is bleeding. You start blood time, and then once the blood is stopped, then you start recovery time. So it's not recovery time only. So the blood time is always going to be what is first. And so just to clarify with everybody on that, yeah. Let's see what else. We also talked about potentially dangerous versus illegal. We had a good text thread going, and I think this is kind of a, you asked some great questions on this because I posted this video. I'm going to show this right now. So it's, I called an illegal hold, and I actually posted this on my Instagram. So if people maybe have saw this, but I'm going to put this up here. Uh, Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the picture in the rule book first. So I'm going to add this right here so people can see. If you're watching, if you're not watching, it's page it's picture number 65 in the rule book. It's an illegal twisting knee lock. And a lot of times you'll see this called as potentially dangerous if a knee kind of gets twisted. But in this case, I called it illegal, which the rule book says it's illegal. And we talked about why. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to put this video up. Okay, so we have two guys wrestling here, and he's about to get a takedown, and you can see he's got that knee just like the picture, and I had to stop it, and I called it illegal, where a lot of times we, in a scramble situation, we've called potentially dangerous. And then you asked a great question, like, why do we sometimes go potentially dangerous, and why do we sometimes go? So I'll play this one more time here, kind of see the sequence. He's, instead of giving up a takedown, he is bending that knee real far, and I ended up having to call it illegal, and he still got it right there. So why did I call it illegal? Because he stopped a takedown. So if I would have just called potentially dangerous, he would have gotten away with that, and the other kid who almost had a takedown would have got nothing. And so it still kind of sucks for the kid who was about to get a takedown because the kid did an illegal hold. But we were talking, you were asking questions about like an arm bar. Like an arm bar. So the rule book says it's illegal if you put pressure forward, right? Like an illegal chicken wing, or if you put the arm up past 90 degrees, it's illegal. So one of the reasons we stopped that for potentially dangerous is because obviously we want to do that instead of penalizing. But what I always do is I always think, well, was somebody going to score in that situation? So if you can stop it early for potentially dangerous. But if you prevent somebody from scoring on you by creating a potentially dangerous or illegal, using one of those illegal holds, then I would say call it illegal. So what did you? I think you asked maybe one more thing on that. Can you remember?
I can't remember what else I asked. I think it was just that, like, it's just in my mind, like, when we'll say keep it legal, but then when are we blowing
Mm,
it illegal? Like, how many
yeah.
chances are we giving them?
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough because sometimes a kid will have that arm bar and they'll go forward real fast and they'll turn him over. And so you think to yourself, should I stop it and cost him all these near fall points? And that's the dilemma we face
mhm.
as officials, is like, did I really see what I think I saw? And do I want to stop the match? And if I'm wrong, then I just cost this kid 4 points in near fall or possibly a pin. And so we face those dilemmas all the time of, what do I call here? And so those are just so everybody out there knows, like, it's tricky. We want to keep him safe, but at the point where he's already turned over, it's like, should I call it illegal? Should I not? Did I really see it? I'm not 100% sure. So that's why, we want to stop it as potentially dangerous as soon as we can. But at the same time, we don't want to stop a kid from earning points either. So it's tough. It's
Yeah,
not, it's
yeah.
not easy. It's not easy at all. And then when I called that illegal, both coaches were mad because the kid on bottom, he got called for an illegal hold, and the coach was like, well, what's he supposed to do? And I said, well, not pull it that way. And
Yeah.
then the coach of the kid that was on top, he wanted a takedown, and that would have tied the match or put him ahead. I can't remember, but it wasn't a takedown yet because the guy still had his ankle. So it's like, you can't make, as officials, when we first start out, we want to make everybody happy. We want everybody to be happy with our calls, but it's sometimes, it doesn't matter what you call. Somebody's in there. And then in that case, they were both mad because one had an illegal hold and the other one didn't get a takedown. So you can't win sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one, I said a middle school match, and I could tell something wasn't right. But again, it's that same dilemma, like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And then the move kind of played out. And then one kid ended up on top to get the takedown, but then I like stopped it because kind of like at that moment he got the takedown, it had clicked in my head. oh, the other person's arm's all like I should have stopped it for potentially dangerous because the arm was twisted. Well, then one coach is mad I didn't give the takedown because it was, by the time we process it and by the time
Mm.
we call it a couple seconds, they're in a different position. So yeah, it's really, really tough.
Yeah. So we got a comment here from Greg Marks. You know him. He says, "What's up, Holly?" I don't know if he's
Hey.
yeah, he's doing the Westbrook movie, but he asked a question. I'm not sure. Ask one more, Greg. It says, "In that situation, can you stop and start over?" Potentially dangerous, you would stop it, yes. But with an illegal hold, you do stop it as well. Both situations, you start over. Illegal would be a point. Potentially dangerous, no points. But I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. So one thing I like to ask everybody that comes on is about referee mechanics, because as we go, as you know, as you maybe didn't hear so much about it locally, but when you start to travel, you hear about it and you see officials that are really good at their job. And a lot of people don't think that mechanics matter, or they like, oh well, it doesn't, and they don't think about it. But and I think of like a job, like if you look at a police officer who's directing traffic, or you look at a military guy at the gate, like when they're really professional and they look solid, you're just like, wow, that guy really knows what he's doing. Or even like the people that are guiding a plane in, they're doing it with their hands and they're doing it like super professional looking. If they're like flimsy or being weird, you're like, wow, that person's a dork, you know. So
Mhm.
it a lot of people don't like that we talk about it, but I heard a really high level official that does college and everything say, if people can't get their mechanics right to start with, then it's hard to start to get everything else right. And I think it's true, because you start to feel more confident. You start to feel like you know what you're doing, and people trust you more. Just like those other jobs where, like, when people really look solid, you don't have to look like a robot, but there's some referees, they just kind of, their hands are doing weird stuff, and it just, or they're flying an airplane and doing like all these things, and it's like you need to start looking professional. So when did you first hear about like mechanics and signals, and when did you start to really dial yours in and think about it?
So when I started refereeing, it was pretty much the beginning, middle-ish of middle school season. So I did a couple middle school duels locally, and then I went to a Washington State tournament, and I was working with Susanna Silstad, and she's amazing Olympic official, and so she was watching me on the mat, and I always felt like I just didn't really feel very comfortable. I just didn't know what it was. And then after I worked with her, I was like, "Oh, it's that." So she said I was taking like these little stutter steps on the mat. And she's like,
Mhm.
"You look really sporadic. Just be poised, be calm. Your reversal call looks like you're trying to do the Macarena. Like you need to just, you know, hone that in, just a couple little spins." But then I went to New Mexico and worked with Kim Hernandez, and she was very blunt with me, but it was in a respectful way. She said it looked like a mouse scurrying on the mat because I was like hunched over trying to look for locked hands. So she, taught me how to stand upright, kneel down to look for the chokes or look for lock hands. And she really honed in on my mechanics and getting them poised. And then just traveling, went to Philly and was evaluated by D1 officials, and they honed in on my mechanics. I started watching myself. Terry Beckstead said to watch yourself in the mirror. I did
Mhm.
that. I just continually watched videos of myself and was like, oh, that does not look good. And every time I'm out there, the more calm and poised I am, I take myself out of that flurry of action on the mat. And everything just kind of seems more calm and controlled and more confident.
Yeah, that's funny when you say Kim Hernandez told you that, because she did that to me too. To be honest, at one time, I remember it vividly. You'll never forget the mouse scurrying, and now you'll be calm and
Yeah.
relaxed. And when stuff starts to happen when you're a new official, you start to stutter step and get like amped up, kind of like the wrestlers are. Like you're ready
Yeah.
for something. And so that's one thing you have to learn, is just to stay calm, walk slow, like
Mhm.
you go as fast as you need to, but don't get all, just relax and then wait for stuff to happen. But one thing she told me, which, when I was doing my new, she asked me if I was a Christian, and I was like, well, yeah, I am, thanks for asking. I was like, oh, I must be like living right or something. And she goes, well, you look like you're praising Jesus when you are doing your neutral signal, because
You're doing that.
my hands were facing forward, but I did not know that. And so like turning them obviously makes you look better. And so but it's stuff that you don't really feel, and because you don't think about. And then but when she told me that, like, I fixed it. And another thing I was told by another guy was, when I was saying the neutral signal, I was pumping my hands up and down, and he said, don't do that, you look silly, just put your hands straight up and hold them there.
Mhm.
So things like that, you learn little things, and you have to be receptive, and that's how you get better. Because I've told officials that locally, I've told them things like that they would make them look more professional, like don't wear wrestling shoes, you look silly, stuff like that. And they've
Mhm.
gotten mad, and they are still mad at me, and they hate me. So it's like things like that can you have to be receptive if you want to get better. But
Mhm.
so that's cool that we've both kind of had a
Yeah.
similar experience with Kim Hernandez. she's, she's awesome.
She is.
All right, so next segment, we're gonna talk about some stuff that's been happening on the mat. This one's called "Come On, Man."
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Oh, come on, man.
Now, here's Come On, Man.
All right, so this segment, I like to talk about just some funny things that happen out on the mat. And then actually, I'm going to add a little bit to it this time about reaction time, because I've been getting some flack from local coaches about waiting in their eyes too long to call something. And so I got a couple of videos to show of that, but give it a couple. I'll start with my first one. It's just kind of funny things that happen. I was reffing, and this coach was telling his kid to stand up, and he told him to use back pressure, and then he's like, like tectonic plates. I started laughing on the mat. Like it was like it was like a school where kids are smarter than other schools. But it was just funny. And the guy was like super serious. It wasn't like he was joking or anything. It was just really funny. But tell us, you have a couple on here. Go ahead and share some of those.
So one that I hear was punish the head, punish the head, punish the head. And I'm like, wait, what? Don't Please don't punish the head. Like, so then I'm watching for like unnecessary roughness but it just kept punish the head, just kept coming out, and
Uh,
the wrestler wasn't doing anything crazy. So that was weird. One that's not so funny, but I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard, it's kind of died down towards the end of the season, was that he's grabbing fingers. He's
mm,
grabbing fingers. And I remember that was a rule way back when you couldn't grab, I don't know what it was, how many fingers you could, but now that's not even a rule. So I finally was like, I am so sick of coaches yelling,
mm,
he's grabbing the fingers. The wrestler stops wrestling because he thinks something's going on that shouldn't be. So I found it, page 38, the illegal holds. But I'd always work my way to their corner and just say, hey, coach, page 38 in the rule book, it's not illegal to grab the fingers. And that would like shut him down right away.
yeah.
And then afterwards, they'd be like, hey, do you want to look at my rule book? And no, no, no,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah, it's just one of
yeah.
the coaches say that all the time, and that's it. Like we in college actually changed it this year. If you watch college in the last few years, and they'd be on their feet and they'd kind of
Mhm.
interlock their fingers, and the referees would be saying fingers, get off the fingers, but they stopped doing that this year. So they stopped warning the wrestlers. They got tired of doing it, and so like you said, it's not illegal. And we used to say, like, if they're on their feet, like kind of watch the fingers, but it's not illegal unless you bend one back. You can grab
Mhm.
them. It's nothing wrong with grabbing them. And so that's one of those things. It's like I think coaches sometimes they want you to watch, like, oh, he's grabbing the headgear, stuff like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
if you do a half Nelson, your fingers are going to be like near the headgear. I'm not calling that unless I see them actually pulling and using it to move their head, because
Yes.
your fingers got to go somewhere. And so they get those things you can learn to ignore them, and like,
Mhm.
okay, thanks for telling me he's grabbing the fingers. But you know, that's definitely one of those ones that they say all the time. Uh, what's another one? You said, fine. What the coach say, that they're not playing patty cake?
Yeah.
Was
Stop
he
playing
talking
patty cake. What you doing?
to his own kid?
To his own kid when
Yeah,
they're just hand
yeah,
fighting, or stop
yeah.
playing patty cake.
It's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun for me when you can like give a little chuckle while you're out there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Stuff that a lot of people don't hear.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm gonna add a couple in here because I've been getting a lot of flack from coaches with waiting a long time for to call a takedown, and they want you to call it right away. They're like, that's 3. And so I'm going to show one that's a bad one when we get to the next segment. But reaction time is kind of a thing that's been going on. Like, how long is reaction time? Well, there is no like set thing. And so it's control is restraining power and position of advantage. So sometimes you get position of advantage and you hit a move that's in the rule book, but you don't have restraining power because he got away in like a second and he did something else. So it's hard to, to wait sometimes. But then like I've gotten video reviewed at national stuff and had stuff overturned. So I want to show, this happened actually last night. This is Ohio State versus Penn State. And so this was challenged by Cale Sanderson, and he wanted a takedown, and it was video reviewed, and they did not give the takedown. And I feel like in a high school match, we would be catching a lot of flack if we did not give this. So here, I'm going to pause it. I mean, because in the rule book, he's got one hand down, he's behind him, and he stands right back up. And the referee does a good job. He doesn't give it. And then Cale Sanderson, he throws his brick. And so we'll see it here in slow motion. You can see Cale Sanderson, he threw his brick, and in slow motion, it looks even more like a takedown. Obviously, we don't get to see it in slow motion, but this is one of those times where in high school wrestling, if you don't give this takedown, you're probably going to hear a lot of boos. It's going to be, people are mad, because right there, that looks like, everything he has, everything he needs for a takedown. And I'll right here. So what is reaction time, right? So clearly, based on what happened after, it's a quick stand up. But what do you think you would have called there?
So I feel like I think it's from the pressure of the crowd and coaches. I probably would have been inclined to give a takedown there.
Yeah. I mean, I might have too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if they would have called a takedown on that, the video review, they might have kept it. Who knows? But that's just one of those ones that's hard. When I show my video of the thing, a terrible call I made, I'll show you exactly why I called it, is because the crowd wanted it, and I got sucked in. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one that happened last night. So this is a reaction time, and Michigan coach Barnett, he's pissed. You can see him as soon. So this hasn't happened yet, but right here, he wants a takedown, and he's behind him. His hands are down, and he stands right back up. Same kind of situation. So and you can see the Michigan coach, he's pissed, and he gives a takedown there out of bounds. But just one more time here, we'll kind of watch this situation where the coach wanted the takedown a lot sooner, and I gotta be honest, I might have gave it right here, because that in the rule book, that's a takedown, but reaction time says no. And so you can see even the Michigan coach, he's giving it to that ref. He's pointing at him. It's I would be so nervous.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, it's when that hand's down on the mat, they want it right away, but there still is that reaction time. And in both videos, they pop right back up, and there's not really that definitive position restraining power. They have position of advantage, but that restraining power beyond reaction time isn't there.
Right. Yeah. It's a tough one. Like, it's hard because like I said, most people locally, that we don't have video review in Washington. And so people aren't used to it. And so I think to myself, I'm like, if there was video review here, I would get that overturned, and I know it. So I just wait.
Oh, I can't hear you, Andy.
Uh-oh.
I can't hear you.
I can hear you still. Hold on a sec.
My volume's up.
Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Oh, no. Hold on. Can you hear me now? Uh-oh. Dang it.
I wonder if I take off. Can you hear me, though?
Yes,
You can hear me. Huh. I wonder if I take out my AirPods and see if that helps.
Oh, Matt says he can hear me. and you. So maybe it's you that you can't hear me.
Yeah, I still can't hear anything.
Let's see. I'm going to remove you and come back. Okay. So we're dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties here. I'm going to try to get her back here. All right. Hang on one sec. I'm going to remove you. All right. She's going to come back. So just one second. All right. Just a quick pause here. Something happened with Hollie's computer. I'm hearing that people can hear me.
I hear you now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
So yeah. All right. We're good. Thanks, Matt. Matt
Okay.
was texting me, telling me that they could hear me. So awesome.
Oh, weird. Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to show one more. We were talking about the reaction time stuff. One more. This is Timmy. This is Timmy Douglas, number 2 ranked referee on my rankings in Washington, and he's moving up and he's doing college stuff. So me and him last year at Virginia Beach National Duels, and he was doing this is the finals, and he gave this takedown. I'll pause it when he gave it. Oh, that's the end of it. So these kids were so good. Right here. So you can see the kids behind him, and then the kid ends up doing a somersault. And Timmy's holding up the 3. And what happened was they ended up taking him and the assistant official. I'm gonna show it one more time here. Him and the assistant official met, and they took the takedown away. So right here looks like a takedown, right? And he does a somersault and gets out of it and ends up in a scramble, and Timmy's holding up the 3, and as a ref, you're like, dang it, I hate it when that happens. And so you're like, do I wave it off? Do I wait? Do I talk to my official? And so there's just so many things going through your mind, but they ended up waving it off, and then the other coach wanted it back, and so they video reviewed it, and they took it off the board. So most of the time, the reaction time, you get quite a bit to start scrambling. So wrestlers out there, you got a lot to you can scramble. If you just do a somersault or do something crazy and you got good official, then we hold that takedown as long as we can.
Yeah.
But those are tough. And so that's why I think we need video review in Washington. We need it at our state tournament. This is the video review plug from me, because it actually takes a lot less time than our protests. I don't know if you saw any of the protests last year at state tournament, but there was a bunch of them, and they take 10, 15 minutes. We got to get everybody over there, and you could have had a video review done in less than 5 minutes. And so,
yeah, I agree. I hope so too.
Have you been to any tournaments where there was video review?
Yes. So the RMN tournaments do video review, and I like it. I mean, they'll do it for anything. So sometimes you get, coaches that do a lot, but I like it because I'm like, yeah, sure, coach. If you think that my call wasn't correct, absolutely, please have someone else watch it, right? Because I want to get it right for the wrestler. So I would love that. Or even at Pat Coast or Gut Check or Hammerhead in the final, just semifinals. I think even semifinals. I don't know. I like video review. I think it's great, right?
It is. It is, and it makes it so that the coaches aren't mad at you anymore. It's like, hey, we're gonna have it be on video review, and somebody else is gonna decide. And so if they decide in your favor, great, because I want the call to be right. If they decide in my favor, I'm actually kind of glad, because it's kind of makes me feel a little smug.
Right.
But
right.
But at the end of the day, we can't be mad. We want to get the call right. And so it's so much faster now than their protests at state. And the protests at state, I don't think I've ever seen them overturn a call, because you have the referee's view, you have the coach's view, and I mean, the ref's usually going to be like, I saw what I saw, and then I haven't seen them ever change anything. So if we can, I heard a couple states are adding it to their state tournament, and usually Washington is kind of, out front in a lot of things. We were out front in women's wrestling. We were out front in a lot of things. So hopefully within the next couple of years we can get that, because the technology, they have it, they're already filming. And so
Hmm.
I don't see why we don't add that, because the protest system, it doesn't work. It
Yeah.
takes too long, and they never change anything. So yeah, um, definitely need video review. So anybody
Yep.
that's from the
Agree.
WIAA Washington, like, let's get that going. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
reason why we shouldn't do that, and we could test it out at local tournaments, to see how it works, and before the state tournament,
Yeah.
and get good at it. So
Or even
uh,
just like Greco freestyle, I think at regionals, or I don't know, maybe it's others. I just remember at regionals, the coach gets like two bricks or two. There's some tournament that I've been to for freestyle and Greco, anyhow, where they get two chances each at the tournament. And so it's
mhm.
like, even if you limited and then the coaches can save it, I don't know. There's just ways, right?
Yeah,
To,
at Reno Worlds, which I'm going to in April, they do it. You're only allowed to challenge in the semifinals or the finals, and you have to pay
okay.
you have to throw down $100, and if you win,
Wow.
you get your $100 back. So you have to be serious about your challenge, and so
Yeah.
the coach can take his $100 and he can say, I want to challenge that call, and if they are correct, they get their $100 back. But if they're not
Yeah.
correct, they just cost them $100, which I think
Wow.
is actually pretty good, because then you can't just they arbitrarily challenge every call. You have to
Hmm.
be like, this is important.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
all right, this might be my favorite segment, and I just want to say I appreciate you sending me a video for this, but this one's called Ref You Suck.
The Real Ref Report.
Oh no! We suck again!
Now it's time for
You suck, ref!
Ref, You Suck.
Okay, I'm showing this one of me first, and we'll go to yours after. But I just want to preface mine by saying I was so mad at myself because I had such a good day. I was doing the first ever dual state, and I had so many calls where I was like actually thinking to myself, "Dang, Andy, that was pretty good." So it's sometimes I'll think to myself, "Wow, that was pretty good," or "That sucked." But this call, there was so many scrambles that happened, and so many things going on. This is at the end of a match, and so the kid who's getting the takedown is actually ahead 4-3 right here. There's 9 seconds left, 12 seconds left. So he's ahead, and the crowd had already been all over me for other scrambles. And I'll show this, and I end up that everybody's yelling 3 in this moment, right here, and I gave 3 there, and I'm looking at this video, and I'm like, what were you thinking, dude? Like, everybody's yelling 3, and it was the end of the match, so I was like, it doesn't matter. And then you can see the coaches, Kevin Roberts, he's giving me the "you suck," and I was like, actually, that's not a takedown. So I changed it, but this is so bad. I'm like, this is embarrassing. This is not even a good. I got in the wrong. A lot of times with the towel tapper, people don't I try not to move too much, because the towel tapper is behind you, and I don't want him to have to run after me. I don't know if you've ever done that, but so
Yeah.
I try to hold still for him, and I can't believe everybody's yelling 3, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. There's 1 second left, and it does, he's ahead, so it's not like it's going to change the outcome. And I was so embarrassed. I looked over, and if you watch the coach over there, he's just the in the sweater, he's like, "You suck," and he's like, "Yeah, that's terrible." And then I'm like, "Yeah, right, that's no takedown." But it didn't matter. But I was just like, "God, you were doing so good today, and that was a bad one." So that's embarrassing.
Yeah. The crowd
Sometimes it
gets to
happens,
you.
though.
It gets to you.
It
It gets stressful.
it does. Shout out to Hermiston. If anybody's from Hermiston, they're in Oregon, but they wrestle in our state, and their crowd is they're into it. They'll get they'll get on you real quick. Okay, so we're going to talk about yours, and this one is awesome because this actually is something that I did as well. So not the Peterson part, but the out of bounds part. So I'll kind of explain that. One time when I was at, I think, a tournament, and I blew, when you're newer, I don't know, maybe it's a newer official thing. I felt like I wanted to blow my whistle really quick on out of bounds. I wanted to make a
Mhm.
cool out of bounds call for some reason. Oh, they're out. And you learn now, just watch the wrestling. And if they go out,
Mhm.
a late whistle does not matter. Right. So you got to make sure they're out. And so I actually did the same thing. A kid hit a move out of bounds to the kid's back. and I blew the whistle because I just was like so used to it of like, oh, they're gonna be out, and I cost the kid near fall and the match, and I apologized to him afterwards. I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, that was on me. And he was a cool kid. Once I apologized to him, like he didn't.
Mhm.
He was pretty cool about it. But so let's take a look at yours. We got the first part is Peterson that's going to happen, and this one is a little bit actually trickier than you think. So one, he has it and he gets out of it real quick. So I don't actually think that this one is that horrible of a call because he like we were talking about reaction time, right? So
He's
he's
holding
got
them there for quite a while, though. You don't think so?
well, it is. It's a river. I'm just saying I don't think that this one's as like as egregious because watch
Right.
what happens afterwards. He gets right back to a front headlock, and so it's like, you know, if that got video reviewed, I don't know what they would say, to be honest, because does he have control and restraining power? Who know? I mean, it's close,
Yeah.
but I do hear like on the rule book it says once the kid on bottom is worried about getting pinned, and he does turn the other way here, right here. So I would say yes, that was a definitely a reversal. Maybe not enough time for near fall, but
Yeah,
this
and
is
this was the old near fall. I can't remember
mhm.
what it was anymore, but yeah.
So or
Was
5
it
seconds for 3 points.
was that what it was?
Yeah,
I
so
don't
it's
remember.
2 seconds for 2 points and then 5 seconds for 3 points. So
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the one that's brutal, right? So like uh
Yeah.
I'll pause it right when this happens. Okay.
Ugh.
I mean, go back to that part. Let me play it without the thing on the screen. So right here, you can see he threw him to his back and he definitely got his toe in, right? And
Mhm.
I've done that before, and, he just threw him to his back. I'll play it one more time without this thing on the screen here so we can see it, but I've done the same thing, and now you'll learn, like, just let stuff happen and be late on your whistle. Because let's see,
Mhm.
he's down by 5 right here. He didn't
Mhm.
get his reversal from the Peterson, but then this is
Yep.
the same kid, and he's definitely got his toe in.
And the
So,
kid's on his back, so it would have
yeah,
been takedown or reversal and
right.
then near fall. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's tough, and it's a 3rd period with 12 seconds to go. Oh,
I know.
that one hurts, yeah.
It
But
did.
that kid, hey, thanks to that kid, whoever what's his name? We'll see his name here. Robinson. Hey, we appreciate you. Holly Brown just learned a lot, and so we're learning with Holly. So that's not gonna happen again, thankfully.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that's just one of those things, like, it happens and you learn from it, and try not to lose sleep over it because I would at that night
Yeah.
because you care about wrestlers and you care about getting it right. And there's a lot of officials that just don't care. And so, they
Yeah.
wouldn't get better from that situation. But one of those things is like Kim said, just kind of stand up tall, watch the
Mhm.
action, and just stay relaxed. And you don't want to look bored, but you also don't want to be like, oh, stutter step, stutter step, stutter
Right.
step. So I've been there, and so you see the videos of like stutter stepping, and it's like, oh, that looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you showing that video and being vulnerable, and now that's something that you're gonna watch for. You're gonna wait. You're gonna
Yep.
start counting near fall, and if you miss an out of bounds call, oh well, like let them wrestle until you're sure they're out. Because now
Yes.
we only need that 1 foot. Um, but yeah, thanks for showing that video. That one's a good one. And
Yep.
what I don't know, did the coach go off on you on that one? Do you remember?
The coach did not. It was Kim Hernandez
Oh,
who brought it up. We were out to eat dinner that night, and she was like, "I want you to find bout." She had written down the bout number, and watch this. And it sounds rude, but it's not. It's what we need as officials. She said, "You cost this kid the match," and she's like, "This is what you missed. This is what you did." And it
mm.
was like, "Dang, yeah, you're right." The coach went and found Kim
Oh, I see.
after it and complained to her about me. So,
Oh,
but
yeah,
hey, you know,
that's
I want
always
to get,
fun.
yeah, but it's okay because that's how I learn.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you've learned, and all of us can learn from that. So if you're an official out there, like, let the wrestling go, keep watching it. And if
Hmm.
you're late on your whistle, no big deal. Like, they're out, they're out. Okay, fine, they're out. But you don't want to be early on that whistle, because that, like, that changed that match right there, because there was only
Hmm.
12 seconds to go. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So let's see. What else? Oh, another one that people I don't know if you've called this. I don't have a picture of it, but there's the people. The whole crowd thought I was an idiot, and I didn't actually
Oh
suck.
yes.
I was actually the smartest person in the room. But there's
Yeah.
the body cradle, like when a kid has under the armpit. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen that, but if you're under the armpit and you lock up a cradle, that's locking hands, because you have to be over the top.
Yep.
And I don't think that most, even coaches, this high state champion coach, he did not know what I was talking about, so I had to send him a picture. But anybody out there, if you have a cradle that's crossface under the armpit, because you see that sometimes, and then you lock hands for a cradle, that is locking hands, and that's illegal. So the crowd was just like on me, and it sucks, because I want to sit there and like explain it to them all, like, no, he's under the arm, but you just
Hmm.
can't. You just have to deal with it.
Yep.
But yeah. And then actually another call that I made that people thought was nuts, that is actually in the rule. So you want to talk about locking hands a little bit. And and you had a coach that was wondering why you waited so long to call it. So we'll
Hmm.
talk about that in a second. But one of the reasons is, so I called locking hands on a kid, and a kid was in the middle of a switch. So we want to wait. If you're a referee or you're a coach or anybody, we're waiting until that move is over. So all of you coaches who say free move when you see us hold the locking hands, please stop saying that. It's not a free it's not a free move. Like, you can't do some weird somersault or back. I don't know what you plan on doing, but you're
Yeah.
only supposed to be able to finish the move you were doing. So if nothing's going on and they lock hands, you just should stop it right away. But if the kid is in the middle of a stand up, then we hold our hands up and we're waiting until that sequence changes. And then if the kid gets away, you don't stop the match. You give them one for
Hmm.
locking hands and one for escape. But like, if the kid's on bottom, and in my case, he was in the middle of a switch, and so his hips were out and he was turned, and the kid locked hands. So I held my hands up, but I was waiting. Well, he let go of his locked hands. And so, but we're still in that same situation. The
Hmm.
kid was trying to hit a switch, and the other kid that had locked hands once already, he locked his hands again and pulled the kid into control. And so I stopped the match, and I gave 2 points for locking hands. I said, for two different occurrences in the same sequence. And the coach was like, I don't think that's a thing. And I'm like, actually, it is. So in the same sequence, he locked hands twice. And so he got
Hmm.
2 points for it. So that's another one of those ones where people are like, ref, you suck, dude. Like, you're so bad. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, like, yeah, it's just rough. Yeah.
Yep.
We got a comment from Mark K, Mr. Gut Check himself. He says, no free move. We allow the continuation of an existing move at the time of penalty. Yeah. Yeah. So stop saying free move, coaches. It's so annoying.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're trying to tell their kid that it was a locked hands, but it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter, like, to the kid. Like, he should still be wrestling anyway. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't get it. I don't
Yeah.
know where it started. I wanna know who started this, where to start from.
I don't know how it started, but it's a thing. And I'm so
Yeah.
tired of hearing free move. So stop saying free move, everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Last segment coming up. Let's talk about um, some what's the call, except for there's been a lot of talk of fleeing the mat versus stalling. So we're gonna talk about what's the call here.
This is the Real Ref Report. Now, what's the call?
What's the call?
All right. So a couple videos. A lot of people have been asking, like, what stalling or fleeing the mat is. And so I'm going to talk about what the rule book says fleeing the mat is. And fleeing the mat in the rule book says there has to be an imminent scoring situation. And then in the case book, it says that you're driving him down to the mat and then they flee the mat. So, for example, if you just have like a single leg up in the air, when you go to like high level wrestling or you watch college wrestling, that's not necessarily imminent scoring. College doesn't have a flea in the mat call anyway, but
Mhm.
it's kind of a judgment on the official on, is that imminent scoring? And so I'm going to show one here where the referee called flea in the mat and he definitely should not have. We talked about this was actually at Pat Coach. So I'm going to add this here, and the kid's on bottom, and my commentator friend Sam, he was like, "Oh, this is the right call." So you can see the kid on bottom, he just going out of bounds. And
Mhm.
one more time, he just crawling out. He's trying to pull him in. He's crawling out. And this official called him for a technical violation, which definitely in that situation, it should just be a stall call. Um,
Mhm.
so there's definitely no scoring about to happen there.
Yeah.
So definitely should just been a stall call. But then this one was also at Pat Coast, and this was also in the finals. And there's debate on this between officials. So I'm in the camp of this is not an imminent score because I've seen this position a million times, and kids that are really good, um, they get out of it. Like you can see how he goes all the way to the edge on purpose, right? And
Mhm.
then he's trying to hold him in, and he's in a whizzer, and he goes out of bounds, and he gets called for a technical violation. So I'm going to show this one more time. You can see him go all the way to the edge here on purpose, and then he gets a whizzer in. But in my opinion, this is not an imminent scoring situation. Like that's not close to driving him to the mat. He's not about to get a takedown. So in my opinion, that should be a stall. But in our text thread, you remember it was probably 50-50. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah, it wasn't unanimous.
Yeah. So we got it's judgment really on is this scoring imminent? You know?
Mhm.
And so if you're a coach out there or a wrestler, you got to wonder, ask, is the scoring imminent? And I don't think it is. So this is actually me in Tulsa. And again, I had a college level ref tell me that I should have called uh, fleeing the mat.
Mm.
And his reasoning was because there was no time left on the clock and people want to see overtime.
Mm.
So I don't really necessarily agree with his reason because I think if you're a wrestler, you should know like what you're gonna get called for something.
Mhm.
So if you watch this video, this kid is 3-3. He gets an escape, and there's 10 seconds left, and then he gets behind him, and that kid clearly runs out of bounds, and I call him for stalling. But there's only 7 seconds left, so you can see. We'll watch it one more time. He gets behind him, and then he runs out, right? And I call him for stalling, but people will say, well, he was avoiding an imminent score. And I think to myself, well, I've seen that a million times too, and that's not necessarily imminent. So some people will say, well, because there's only 7 seconds left, you should have called him for technical violation to tie the match. And I'm not so sure I agree with that. I mean, I can understand that people want to see overtime there, but I think we have to be consistent on if you run out of bounds, then you're going to get called for stalling unless the kid's about to score. But the judgment is, was he about to score? So I guess if you're going to argue he was about to score because he was behind him, then I could go with a flea in the mat. But I've seen it so many times with high level wrestling. I don't think he's about to score. So have you
So
had
this
any of
is
those?
Yes, which is so crazy. I was trying to look, I had the exact situation at Gut Check. I was trying to find the video and I couldn't. So what's interesting is that I was thinking the opposite of you. Okay, so exact same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Up neutral, guy gets behind him, the one guy runs off the mat. So I automatically give a stall warning. And there wasn't, I can't really remember how it determined the match or whatever. So the coach called me to the table and he said, shouldn't that be a technical violation for fleeing the mat? My guy was behind him and he ran out of bounds, not allowing that mat return to possibly be a takedown. And I was like, oh, you know what? That sounds right to me. I changed it and gave a technical violation.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, so then I just, analyze it and I'm thinking, if they are an imminent scoring situation, you're in a position of advantage behind that wrestler to have an attempt to get a takedown.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like that to me would be that imminent scoring. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, you can argue both ways for sure, but I think,
Yeah.
a lot of times, here, let me read the case book. I mean,
Okay.
obviously not every situation, but here's what the case book says about it. It says wrestler A has a pinning, or sorry, wrestler A has one leg of wrestler B in the air and is driving for the takedown. When B intentionally goes out of bounds, what call should the referee make? So it says that's fleeing the mat, but it says he's driving for the takedown. So what does that mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, because if he has the leg up and he's just standing, what is, is he driving for the
Yeah.
takedown already? So it's the same thing, kind of like,
Mm.
was the scoring imminent? Like, what is imminent, right? So
Yeah,
you
I
think,
know.
okay, I think they should actually change the language in the rule book to either be the same as college, where there is no fleeing the mat, it's just a stall,
Yeah.
or to avoid a possible scoring situation, like, because that would make it easier, right? So
Mhm.
if you're behind him, that's a possible scoring situation, or if you have the leg up, that's a possible scoring situation. So
Right.
I think really they should change the language instead of imminent score to possible scoring situation or something like that, if they want to keep fleeing the mat in the rule book for high school. But college doesn't even have it. Like, there's just a stall call.
Yeah,
So
I would like to see the fleeing the mat go away too.
yeah.
Stalling's just much easier in all those
Yeah.
situations,
Yeah,
you
either
know?
change the wording to not
Yeah.
imminent, or you know, just make it a stall call for sure.
Yeah. Agree.
Um, let's see. There's another one. This was actually a local, one of my son's duels, and uh, this one actually nothing was called. So this is
Mm.
um the kid runs out of bounds, and you can see him run right to the edge, and then he's trying to pull him in, and he
Yeah.
runs to the edge, and the official just blows him out and calls absolutely nothing. And so
Ugh.
clearly the coaches were not happy. Um, but you got to call something there. Like, you got to
Mhm.
decide, is it a stall or is it a flea in the mat? So as an official, if you're an official and you know somebody just pushed them out or ran out, you got to call one of the two, stalling or flea in the mat. You can't just let it be and say, oh, whatever. So anybody that's
Yeah.
official out there, like, call something. And,
Yes.
you have to be able to defend your position. Like, you could call flea in the mat there and say, hey, I thought a score was imminent. He was behind him, about to take him down. And if you think a score is imminent, that's your judgment, right?
Mhm.
So I personally, if you were to go to Virginia Beach, the kids score on that. A lot of
Right.
time, not very often, right? So in high school, in our local, maybe they do score on that more often. But when you start to watch like college or really high level wrestling, to me, that's not necessarily imminent. I mean, it could be, but so but as an official, if you want to call that fleeing the mat, I think you have the right to. I think you should just be able to say, like, I think scoring was imminent there.
Right.
And some officials, like I said, the college guy, he said if there was 5 seconds left in the match and he was down by one, I would call it fleeing the mat.
Mm.
If it was the beginning of the match and it was 0-0, I would call it a stall. And so that's where you
I
have
don't
different
yeah.
different opinions from different officials, right? And so it's like, as a coach, you want consistency, but if you're a coach out there, you're never going to have consistency because we don't all agree on everything. Unfortunately, there's just no way to be 100% consistent on those calls. So but if you want to call it one way or another, you just have to be able to explain it. Like, Holly Brown, you say that was a flea in the mat because you thought scoring was imminent, and that's all
Mhm.
you have to say, because that's a judgment. Like, was it imminent or not? And
Right.
I would say, no, I've seen that a million times. That ain't that's not imminent.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just and then the case book says he's driving him down. So is it
Right.
what is that actually like? They need to fix that wording, in my opinion.
I agree.
Let's see. Stalling versus fleeing the mat. So yeah, those are the ones that I was gonna show. Um let's see, you said you wanted to talk about why we hold locking hands so long. We talked a little bit about that,
We
but
talked about that.
yeah.
We talked about it.
Um let's see. I'll make sure we didn't miss anything. Oh, we were gonna talk just a little bit about your experience like doing these high level tournaments? Like you got invited to do gut check, right? And like
Yes.
you've only been, as good as you are, you've only been officiating 2 years or 3 now, right? So
Yeah.
February, you started in 2023. So
Mhm.
tell me what that, I mean, people think that, I mean, they don't really think of officials as people. They just see us as a striped shirt. Tell me what you like when you go out there. Like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And what was that experience like for you?
I am not like the most confident person, just in general. And so I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of officials and my assigner, tournament directors be, boost me up and try to give me that confidence. But it's been pretty wild just getting invites to tournaments that were on my like 5 to 10 year bucket list, invites. Um, but I just always, there was an official who told, he's a college official, and he said, no matter if you're in the finals, no matter how loud the crowd is, how loud the coaches are, wrestling is wrestling.
Hmm.
So it doesn't matter. Just block it all out. A match is a match, whether it's the finals match or the first round. And so that's really helped kind of ground me when I'm at these higher level tournaments where I feel kind of like, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. Why didn't someone else get chosen over me?
Hmm.
Um, but just having that confidence to know wrestling's wrestling. It doesn't matter where you are. Um, and so that has really helped me. And then of course, like I said, going to the East Coast, wrestling's way different over there.
Hmm.
Um, that has really helped kind of hone the stalling. They want to see stall calls made on the East Coast. You better
Hmm.
make stall calls, and so that's really helped me bring those skills back to here when I officiate. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how fast tracked everything's gone, and I've just been surrounded by really great people that have really helped boost me up, and so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I noticed. Maybe a little bit, like you said, maybe your confidence is a little bit not there yet, which it takes
Yeah,
time. Like it takes
yeah.
time, and so I think, but sometimes coaches can pick up on that. But you have asked so many questions, and the more you learn, the more you do your mechanics, the more you learn the rules. It builds all that because then you're more sure of what you're calling and why. Um,
Mhm,
but it's funny you say about the stalling, like, yeah, stalling is called a lot more in the East Coast for sure, and they call it more on the bottom wrestler, which I've started doing.
mhm.
So, like, part of the reason why our kids in Washington, one of the reasons I feel like they don't do well in college is because we bail them, the officials bail them out. Like they'll call the kid on top for stalling,
Mhm.
when really the kid on bottom needs to be called for stalling because he's not moving. And it's easier to, like, in my, I heard a good referee tell me that you're kind of like telling a story with the match. And if they're both kind of stalling, call it on the bottom wrestler because you don't have to stop the match.
Yeah.
Really, it's a warning to get wrestling going. And so that's just one of those things where that's really what makes a really high level ref is who's good at calling stalling. And one thing I
Mhm.
learned from them as well is to, like, we're not supposed to coach. Like, you can't say green, get moving on bottom, which I see a
Mm.
lot of new referees are doing now. They're like, bottom, you got to get
Yeah.
going. Like, you can't do that. You can say action to both wrestlers, but you can't say bottom, I need you to do this, or top, I need you to do this. But once you call a stall warning, like, if they're on their feet, I like to verbalize why I called stalling, like
Mm.
warning red, play in the edge, like something like that,
Mhm.
or warning red, you're backing out. Because once you penalize them, you can tell them why you did it. Because a lot of times, a referee will just hold the stall warning up, and you don't know. I mean, you might know, but if you say like, "Coach is playing the edge" or whatever, then they know exactly why you called them, and not just for no reason at all. Because sometimes you're not sure. Like you'll like if a kid pushes them out, like
Mhm.
sometimes they want, like, did who backed out or who pushed out, right? So sometimes
Right.
I'll call it on the kid who pushed him out, and everybody's like, what? They're going crazy, right? Because they think the kid backed out. But you also got to think, like, how did we get here? Like, sometimes a kid will back all the way to the edge, and then he'll spin around and then shoot the other kid out. And so
Mhm.
everybody wants the other kid to get called for stalling. And I will call that kid because he's playing the edge and he pushed him
Mhm.
out. So when the coach says shoot him out, and I mean, not always I'll call him for stalling, but if you think about how did they get to this situation? And so
Yes.
this kid backed all the way to the edge, and then he caused him to go out. you can verbalize that when you call him, like, hey, you backed all the way to the edge and then shot him out. That's stalling. You get not trying to, so if you know exactly like what to say real quick, then I think you can save yourself a lot of headache. But definitely no one is, it's pretty rare when people are happy about a stall call. I've had some coaches, they want you to call their kid because their kid's just not doing anything.
Yeah.
But if you call stalling on somebody, the coach is going to be mad. Like, but if you're a coach out there, like if it's just one warning, like take a chill pill, because it's just meant to get wrestling going. And a lot of times it works. Like you call a kid for stalling and he takes a shot, or you call a kid for stalling on bottom and he starts to stand up. Like that's the whole point of calling, is because we want people who are watching to not be so bored. So
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that you just started verbally saying why you gave a stalling. And I actually just started doing it a couple months ago, probably
mhm,
halfway through the middle school season, because I was tired of the coach grumbling and complaining when their kid would get a stall call. So I started to say stalling, backing off the edge or whatever it is.
mhm,
And then I haven't, knock on wood, heard grumbling since I've
mhm.
been verbally saying my reason why I'm giving each stall call. So that's helped me anyhow. So yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to the wrestler too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, also some if the kid pushes them out and everybody's like mad that I call him, I'll point at the kid and I'll say, "Hey, you just pushed him out, so I called you for stalling." And usually
Yeah.
they know they did that.
Yeah.
But you got to let them know, because if you call the other kid for stalling on that situation, he's going to start pushing him out the whole time. Like he's just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So you have to
Mhm.
stop that behavior.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that.
let's see. I think we covered everything on here. Is there anything else that you were thinking of that you want to touch on, or are we good?
No, I think that we're good.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you, Holly, for being on here. I think it's really cool. I use you as an example because I try to get my wife to start officiating, because
Uh-huh.
she'd be really good at it, but she's not jumping on board because we get to travel. She would be able to come with me, and she'd probably be able
Yeah.
to get me into some bigger tournaments, to be honest, because she'd be
Yeah.
really good at it. But maybe one of these days she'll start. But maybe when our kids are out of high school. But I just want to say to you, congratulations on how far you've made it in such a short amount of time. It's very impressive, and it's
Thank
just
you.
it's just a testament to, we can be pretty good at this in a short amount of time. And so anybody
Mhm.
that's these old heads that are kind of holding people back, or saying, "Oh, I waited 10 years for this," or "I waited 20 years to go to state," or blah blah blah. You know,
Mhm.
Mike McDonald, the Seahawks coach, got hired when he was 36 years old. He didn't have to wait until he was 50 or 60. So just
Yeah.
you're an encouragement to not just girls, not females. I know that women's officiating is a thing now, and we want more women's officials, especially for girls wrestling, because it's grown so much. But for any official, guys or
Mhm.
girls, like, it's just a cool testament that you have been a student of your craft. And so a lot of officials, they don't learn, or they only learn during the high school season, and they don't do anything when they're not getting paid. So if you're going to get better at this, you have to put in the time and the
Mhm.
effort when you're not getting paid. You have to study, you have to read the rule book, you have to watch videos, you have to learn from people. And it's not just about getting paid. But I just want to say to you, like, it's really cool. People notice you. You're very humble, and you're very cool about it. But like I said, people know
Thank
who
you.
you are, and it's really cool to see you on the rise. And I just want to highlight you as an official, and that you're doing a great job. So I'm looking forward
Thank you.
to, you won't be at state this year because your son's wrestling, but
Yep.
I will see you at Iowa. In Iowa in
Yeah.
April, we'll be doing the girls national duels, and that's a cool one. So are you trying to qualify for scholastic duels in Florida through that, or just curious?
I just whatever happens, happens.
Well, I
So
mean,
that's
you have
kind
to.
of what,
It'd be cool if you did, because Florida, that's a great tournament too. Like
yeah.
a lot of learning. But I don't know if you're trying to get there or not. But
I am. I mean, I'm
okay,
trying to get as far as I can
yeah.
go. I just I don't know. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, I guess.
No, yeah, I didn't actually, my first time trying to make it to, it used to be called Disney Duels, but it's called
Yeah.
Scholastic Duels now. I didn't make it my first time because honestly, they were evaluating it when I had like these little kids on the mat. And so, like,
Oh,
6-year-olds, and I
that's
was like
rough.
running around, like, and trying to not let them hit the table, and just terrible. I mean, it was bad. And so I didn't make it the first time. And then the next time last year, I did make it. So the girls' duels are a great place to get evaluated because it's not like as crazy as a tournament, and so you can go in and out and you can have discussions, and it's a lot less hectic as a tournament. So
Yeah.
I wish you I think you'll do just fine, and Nadine and all them are gonna love having you out there. So good
Yeah.
luck with
Well, thank you.
good luck with all your endeavors with officiating, and I'm excited to keep seeing you out there.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm really honored and touched.
No,
So
me too.
I
Me too.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Holly.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening and keeping it real with The Real Ref Report. Don't forget to rate the show and leave us a review. And be sure to follow Andy on Instagram and YouTube at The Real Ref Report. Thanks again for listening as we make reffing great again.